What makes a car truly unforgettable? Is it the way it looks, the way it drives, or the way it makes you feel every time you take the wheel? For car enthusiasts, it's never just about reaching a destination. It's about the story the car tells, the identity it shapes, and the emotions it unlocks. And that's exactly why the upcoming 2026 Audi Q3 has become one of the most talked about SUVs in recent years. Now, before we dive into all the reasons behind this excitement, let me give you a reason to stay with me till the end. By the conclusion of this video, you'll understand not only why the new Q3 is being called the most anticipated SUV of the year, but also how it taps directly into the psychology of car lovers. People like you who don't just see cars as machines, but as extensions of themselves. That's the real reward, a deeper perspective on why this car matters so much. Let's set the stage. SUVs today are not just vehicles for moving people from point A to point B. They have evolved into lifestyle symbols. Across the globe, we've seen a consistent rise in SUV demand. In fact, more than 45% of all cars sold worldwide are SUVs, and that number is growing year after year. Why? Because people crave a balance of strength and security. Psychologists say humans naturally gravitate toward things that make them feel safe while still offering freedom. SUVs capture both. The commanding view of the road gives you control, while the spacious cabin promises comfort and security. Audi, with its Q3, has mastered this balance better than most, but the 2026 Q3 isn't just another entry in the SUV lineup. It represents an evolution of Audi's philosophy. If we look at the history of the Q3, it's always been about offering something compact yet luxurious, practical yet prestigious. The Q3 sits in that sweet spot where people who want the flexibility of an SUV but don't want something massive or difficult to handle find their match. This is where psychology plays a big role. Drivers often want a car that reflects capability without intimidation. Something that looks bold but feels approachable. That balance is rare, and it's exactly what makes the Q3 stand out. Now, anticipation itself is an interesting phenomenon. Humans are wired to enjoy the build-up almost as much as the reward. Researchers call this the anticipation effect, the dopamine rush that comes not from receiving something, but from expecting it. Think about it, when a major car brand announces a new release, car enthusiasts don't just wait patiently. They speculate, they imagine, they talk, and they dream. And with the 2026 Audi Q3, this effect is at its peak. Because Audi isn't just promising an update, it's hinting at a complete rethinking of what the compact luxury SUV can be. Let's be honest, when a new SUV is announced, not every model gets this kind of buzz. So why is the Q3 different? Because it isn't just appealing to the practical side of drivers, it's appealing to their identity. Owning a car like the Q3 sends a message. It says, I care about design, I value technology, I demand performance, but I also want something versatile that adapts to every part of my life. This blend of utility and status is deeply psychological. Humans are social creatures. We make choices not only for ourselves, but also for how those choices are perceived. And in today's market, the Q3 has become a symbol of refined taste, a way to stand out without shouting. Another reason for the anticipation is Audi's reputation. Audi has built its brand around precision, innovation, and understated luxury. Car enthusiasts know that when Audi makes changes, they aren't superficial. They are deliberate, they reflect a vision, and that's why the Q3 has people waiting. Because expectations are high that the 2026 model will take another leap forward in design, performance, and technology. But let's step back for a moment. Imagine yourself behind the wheel of a new car for the first time. The seats hug you just right. The engine responds with power at the slightest touch, and every detail feels designed with intention. That feeling is powerful. Psychologists say it's because of what's called the emotional ownership effect. Once you imagine yourself in possession of something, your brain starts to treat it as part of you. That's exactly what Audi is leveraging with the Q3. Even before it's released, enthusiasts are imagining themselves inside it. And once that emotional connection is made, the anticipation only grows stronger. So, what makes the 2026 Audi Q3 the most anticipated SUV of the year? It's not just because of its new features or its rumored upgrades or even its place in Audi's lineup. It's because it taps into something deeper, the human need for progress, identity, and belonging. We don't just want to drive a car. We want to feel proud of it. We want to feel secure in it, and we want it to reflect the future we imagine for ourselves. Stay with me, because in the next sections, we're going to break down exactly how the design, technology, and emotional value of the 2026 Q3 deliver on all these promises. And by the end of this video, you'll see why this isn't just another SUV launch, it's the car that could redefine the category for years to come. What makes people wait restlessly for a car that hasn't even been released yet? Is it the thrill of knowing they'll soon see something new on the road? Or is it the promise of experiencing technology, design, and performance that feels one step ahead of its time? For car lovers, it's more than curiosity. It's about anticipation, that feeling when your heart races at the thought of sliding behind the wheel of something extraordinary. And right now, the 2026 Audi Q3 is creating exactly that kind of anticipation. But here's the deal. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll walk away with more than just information about a new SUV. You'll gain a deeper understanding of why this car matters so much, why enthusiasts across the world are talking about it, and most importantly, why it's being called the most anticipated SUV of the year. That's your reward. The clarity to see not just the car, but the psychology behind the excitement. Let's start by looking at the bigger picture. The car industry has changed more in the last decade than in the 50 years before it. Electric mobility, digital dashboards, artificial intelligence in driving. We are living in a time where cars are more than machines. They are becoming digital companions. And at the same time, people are demanding something very primal: space, comfort, and the feeling of safety. That's why SUVs dominate the global market today. Numbers don't lie, nearly half of all cars sold worldwide are SUVs. This isn't just a trend, it's a reflection of human behavior. Psychologists tell us that humans naturally seek security. We are drawn to things that feel strong and protective. When you sit higher on the road, when you feel surrounded by a spacious cabin, your mind interprets it as safety. But at the same time, we don't just want security, we crave freedom. The freedom to take a long trip, carry what we need, and go where smaller cars cannot. SUVs satisfy both these instincts. And among them, the Audi Q3 has carved out a special place because it isn't just big and practical. It's smart, stylish, and deeply personal. Think about the Q3's position in Audi's family. It isn't the biggest SUV they make, and it isn't the most expensive. But that's exactly what makes it interesting. It has always been the just right choice, compact enough for city life, yet versatile enough for adventures. For many drivers, that balance speaks directly to their identity. They don't want to drive something massive and intimidating, but they also don't want something too small or ordinary. The Q3 answers that unspoken need: give me presence, but keep it manageable. Give me style, but make it practical. That balance is rare, and it's part of why the 2026 model is already capturing attention. Now let's talk about anticipation itself. Have you noticed how waiting for something exciting can sometimes feel better than getting it? Scientists call this the anticipation effect. It's the dopamine your brain releases when you imagine the reward before it arrives. And this is what car enthusiasts experience when a new model is announced. They picture themselves in the driver's seat. They imagine the first time they press the start button, the first curve they take, the first night drive under city lights. That fantasy is powerful, and it's exactly what the 2026 Q3 is triggering worldwide. But why this SUV in particular? Why is the Q3 creating so much noise compared to other upcoming models? The answer lies in psychology again: identity and status. People don't just buy cars for transportation, they buy them for what those cars say about them. A Q3 tells the world, I appreciate luxury, but I'm smart about it. I want advanced technology, but I also need flexibility. I care about performance, but I'm not trying to shout about it. In short, it communicates refinement. It appeals to drivers who want to stand out quietly, not with flash, but with taste. That psychological appeal is one of Audi's greatest strengths. And here's something even more fascinating. Studies show that when people imagine owning something before they actually do, their brain starts to treat it as part of themselves. It's called the endowment effect. This is why car fans spend hours reading reviews, scrolling through pictures, and watching every leak of a new model. They're already building an emotional bond. The 2026 Q3 is becoming part of people's identity before they've even touched it. That's anticipation at its deepest level. Audi knows this. The brand has built its reputation on precision, innovation, and understated luxury. Every move it makes is deliberate. When Audi redesigns a car, It isn't about changing looks for the sake of novelty. It's about evolution, about creating something that feels both familiar and futuristic. The Q3 has always been about balance, but the promise of the 2026 model is more than balance. It's about pushing boundaries while keeping that balance intact. And that's why expectations are so high. So as we begin this journey into the story of the 2026 Audi Q3, remember this: anticipation isn't just about waiting for specs, performance figures, or new tech. It's about what the car represents to us as human beings. A chance to feel secure, to feel proud, to feel a part of progress. And when a car taps into all those emotions at once, it becomes more than a vehicle. It becomes an event. Stay with me, because as we move forward, we'll uncover exactly how the Q3 is evolving in design, technology, and performance. And by the end, you'll see why this SUV isn't just another release, but perhaps the defining car of its class for years to come. What is it that makes certain cars capture our imagination long before they even hit the roads? Is it the promise of new technology, the evolution of design, or is it something much deeper, the way a car can shape our identity and make us feel part of a bigger story? For car enthusiasts, it's rarely about simple transportation. It's about passion, pride, and the emotional bond we form with machines that reflect who we are. And right now, one SUV is generating more excitement than almost any other: the 2026 Audi Q3. Before we go further, let me give you a reason to stay with me until the very end of this video. By the conclusion, you'll not only understand why the new Audi Q3 is the most anticipated SUV of the year, but also discover the psychological forces that make car lovers like you and me feel such a deep connection to it. That's the reward. Not just knowing the facts, but seeing the bigger picture behind the hype. Now, let's step back for a moment. Look at the car industry today. We're living in an age of transformation. Electric mobility is rewriting performance standards, digital dashboards are replacing analog simplicity, and cars are becoming rolling computers on wheels. Yet at the same time, something very human is driving demand: the desire for space, comfort, and safety. That's why SUVs dominate global sales. Almost half of all vehicles sold worldwide are SUVs, and the number continues to climb. The reason isn't hard to understand. Psychology teaches us that humans crave security. We are instinctively drawn to things that make us feel safe. Sitting higher on the road gives a commanding view, which reduces anxiety and increases a sense of control. A larger cabin creates comfort, which our minds translate into protection. Yet we also crave freedom. The idea that we can pack our bags, take our family, and head anywhere at a moment's notice speaks to a deep need for independence. SUVs satisfy both instincts, and this is where the Audi Q3 shines. Unlike oversized models that can feel overwhelming, the Q3 has always offered balance. Compact enough for city life, but versatile enough for weekend adventures. Stylish enough to turn heads, but practical enough for daily use. This is why the Q3 occupies a unique psychological space. It appeals to drivers who want capability without bulk, presence without intimidation. It's a car that says, "I'm strong, but I'm approachable. I'm refined, but I'm ready for anything." That balance of opposites is what makes it so appealing. But here's where anticipation becomes fascinating. Studies in human psychology reveal something called the anticipation effect. Simply put, the joy of expecting something often equals or even exceeds the joy of receiving it. Think about how car enthusiasts behave when a new model is announced. They don't just wait passively, they speculate, they debate. They imagine themselves behind the wheel. Their brains release dopamine, the chemical of reward, not from driving the car, but from the excitement of imagining it. And right now, the 2026 Audi Q3 is fueling that exact anticipation effect around the world. The buzz around this SUV is different from many others, and the reason comes down to identity. People don't just buy cars for what they do. They buy them for what those cars say about them. The Q3 carries a message: I appreciate technology, I care about design, I value performance, and I want flexibility in my life. But it also says, I don't need to shout about it. My taste speaks for itself. That quiet confidence is a strong psychological appeal. And it's one of the reasons the Q3 is more than just a vehicle. It's a statement. And here's another powerful concept: the endowment effect. Psychologists describe it as the tendency to value something more once we imagine owning it. This explains why people spend hours scrolling through leaked images, early reviews, and speculative renders of unreleased cars. They're already building a mental bond with a vehicle they don't yet possess. The Audi Q3 has entered this stage. Car enthusiasts are picturing themselves in the driver's seat, imagining the sound of the engine, the feel of the steering, and the elegance of the cabin. In their minds, the Q3 is already theirs, and that's what makes the anticipation so intense. Of course, anticipation is also fueled by trust in the brand. Audi has built its reputation not on flashy gimmicks, but on consistency, precise engineering, advanced innovation, and timeless design. When Audi makes changes, people know they are intentional. They know that progress will come, but not at the cost of identity. That trust adds weight to every rumor about the 2026 Q3, because enthusiasts believe the model will embody Audi's vision of the future while staying true to its legacy. But let's put ourselves in the driver's seat for a moment. Imagine starting the engine of a brand new car. The scent of the leather, the glow of the digital cockpit, the sense that everything has been designed with purpose. That feeling is unforgettable because it's personal. It's about ownership, belonging, and pride. The human brain doesn't treat cars like lifeless machines. It treats them as companions, as symbols of freedom and achievement. The Q3, with its balance of practicality and prestige, taps directly into that psychology. So, what really makes the 2026 Audi Q3 the most anticipated SUV of the year? It's not only the promise of new design, upgraded technology, or improved performance. It's the way this SUV speaks to universal human desires: the need for safety, the craving for freedom, the pursuit of identity, and the joy of belonging to something bigger than ourselves. That's why enthusiasts are waiting. That's why expectations are sky high. Stay with me, because in the next parts of this video, we'll explore how the design, technology, and emotional value of the 2026 Audi Q3 come together to deliver on this promise. And by the end, you'll see why this SUV isn't just another launch. It's shaping up to be the car that defines the year. What is it about certain cars that makes people talk about them months, even years, before they officially arrive? Is it the design? The power under the hood? Or is it something deeper? The way a car represents progress, identity, and even status. For car lovers, anticipation is not just waiting, it's an experience of its own. And that's exactly why the 2026 Audi Q3 has become one of the most talked about SUVs in the world right now. Now, before we dive deeper, let me give you a reason to stay with me until the very end. By the time we finish, you'll not only understand why the 2026 Audi Q3 is being called the most anticipated SUV of the year, but you'll also see how it connects to the psychology of car enthusiasts, why it creates such strong emotions, why it speaks to people's identity, and why it matters far beyond simple specifications. That's the reward, a deeper perspective, one that only true car lovers will appreciate. Let's first look at the bigger picture. The SUV market today is unlike anything we've seen before. Over the past decade, SUVs have grown from being niche vehicles to dominating almost half of all global car sales, and there's a reason behind this dominance. Human beings are wired to seek safety and control. When you drive an SUV, you sit higher, you see more, and you feel more secure. Psychologists call this a sense of perceived control, the feeling that you are in charge of your environment. Add to that the spaciousness of an SUV, which brings comfort and freedom, and you have a vehicle that appeals not just to logic, but to instinct. Audi's Q3 has always tapped into this instinct in a special way. Unlike oversized SUVs that can feel bulky, the Q3 has positioned itself as compact yet luxurious. It's a car that fits the city but doesn't shy away from open roads. And this balance matters because people don't want extremes. They want something that feels practical without losing prestige, versatile without losing refinement. In psychology, we often call this the sweet spot effect. People are happiest when they feel they are getting the best of both worlds. That's the Q3's identity, and it's why anticipation for the 2026 model is so strong. But anticipation itself deserves a closer look. Why do car enthusiasts feel so excited about something they haven't even seen in person? Scientists point to what's known as the anticipation effect. This is the dopamine rush your brain gives you not when you achieve something, but when you expect it. Think about the thrill before a race starts, or the excitement of waiting for a package you ordered. In many cases, the waiting feels as good as the actual